Praise the Lord, everyone. Today, December 10th, the offering of the natural. Galatians 4:22. It is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondwoman, the other by a free woman. Paul was not dealing with sin in this chapter of Galatians, but with the relation of the natural to the spiritual. The natural can be turned into the spiritual only through sacrifice. Without this, a person will lead a divided life. And this is what is the greatest battle in our Christian walk between the natural and the spiritual. And I see many believers struggle with that and how they are still so much in the natural rather than the spiritual. But they have to cross that line, and the only way is, like it says, it's through sacrifice. It's by denying your own desires, your own will, what you want to do, have it your own way, and so on. Otherwise, our life is divided. Why did God demand that the natural must be sacrificed? God did not demand it. It is not God's perfect will, but His permissive will. God's perfect will was for the natural to be changed into the spiritual through obedience. Sin is what made it necessary for the natural to be sacrificed. Abraham had to offer up Ishmael before he offered up Isaac. Let's see this in Genesis 21. Genesis 21. And verses 8 to 14. We read, when Isaac grew up and was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and her Egyptian servant Hagar, making fun of her son Isaac. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son. He's not going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it." Tough woman. This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son. But God told Abraham, "Do not be upset over the boy and your servant. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. But I will also make a nation of the descendants of Hagar's son, because he is your son too." Okay? Some of us are trying to offer up spiritual sacrifices to God before we have sacrificed the natural. The only way we can offer a spiritual sacrifice to God is to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. Sanctification means more than being freed from sin. It means the deliberate commitment of myself to the God of my salvation and being willing to pay whatever it may cost. If we do not sacrifice the natural to the spiritual, the natural life will resist and defy the life of the Son of God in us and will produce continual turmoil. What is God's will every day of my life? Every day of my life. What is God's will? Am I surrendering to His will? Am I living in obedience? Or am I still resisting? This is what causes turmoil in our life. This is always the result of an undisciplined spiritual nature. We go wrong because we stubbornly refuse to discipline ourselves physically, morally, or mentally. We excuse ourselves by saying, well, I wasn't taught to be disciplined when I was a child. Then discipline yourself now. If you don't, you will ruin your entire personal life for God. You know, this is also true in the natural. When people struggle with health issues, with weight, and they refuse to do what is necessary to improve. They won't exercise, they won't change their diet. Oh, you know, I was brought up like that. I don't enjoy exercising. And their situation worsens and worsens and worsens, and they just go the way that so many go. They start taking medication for the rest of their lives, and they're in bondage when they could take their health into their own hands, as some have, and better their life, improve their life. God is not actively involved with our natural life as long as we continue to pamper and gratify it. But once we are willing to put it out in the desert and are determined to keep it under control, God will be with it. He will then provide wells and oases and fulfill all His promises for the natural. Again, we see in Genesis 21, verses 15 to 19. When the water was gone, she put the boy in the shade of a bush. Then she went and sat by herself about 100 yards away. I don't want to watch the boy die, she said, as she burst into tears. But God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. Hagar, what's wrong? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Go to him and comfort him, for I will make a great nation from his descendants. Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well full of water. She quickly filled her water container and gave the boy a drink. He never doesn't accomplish His promises. But He's expecting us to give up the natural so that we may live completely by His Spirit, through His Spirit, with His Spirit. That's the new covenant life, my friends. Don't hold on to what pleases you, what comforts you. Seek God's will in all things. God bless you.